Welcome to the continuing series from the Mother and Sri Aurobindo's works. Self-Discipline, Part 2 from Sri Aurobindo. All supremely successful imperial nations have had in their culture or in their nature, in their formative or expansive periods, this predominance of the will, the character, the impulse of self-discipline and self-mastery, which constitutes the very basis of ethical tendency. Rome and Sparta, like other ethical civilizations, had their considerable moral deficiencies. Tolerated or deliberately encouraged customs and practices which we should call immoral failed to develop the gentler and more delicate side of moral character, but this is of no essential importance. The ethical idea in man changes and enlarges its scope, but the kernel of the true ethical being remains always the same: will, character, self-discipline, self-mastery. But without character, without some kind of high or strong discipline, there is no enduring power of life. Athens exhausted its vitality within one wonderful century, which left it enervated, will-less, unable to succeed in the struggle of life, uncreative. It turned indeed for a time precisely to that which had been lacking to it, the serious pursuit of truth and the evolution of systems of ethical self-discipline. But it could only think, it could not successfully practice. If the ethical impulse is not sufficient by itself for the development of the human being, yet are will, character, self-discipline, self-mastery indispensable to that development. They are the backbone of mental body. We cannot assign to it its position in any such definite language, but can at best say that its kernel of will, character, and self-discipline are also the first condition for human self-perfection. The aesthetic sense is equally indispensable, for without that, the self-perfection of the mental being cannot arrive at its object, which is on the mental plane the right and harmonious possession and enjoyment of the truth, power, beauty, and delight of human existence. But neither can be the highest principles of the human order. We can combine them. We can enlarge the sense of ethics by the sense of beauty and delight and introduce into it, to correct its tendency of hardness and austerity, the element of gentleness, love, amenity, the hedonistic side of morals. We can steady, guide, and strengthen the delight of life by the introduction of the necessary will and austerity and self-discipline, which will give its endurance and purity. How can I become master of myself and keep self-discipline? Mother, observe yourself so that nothing passes without being conscious of it. Do not allow yourself to be moved by the forces of nature without the inner consent. Obey the mother's will always. Let your consent or refusal to the movement of forces be in consonance with her truth. 10th June 1933. Not by abstention from works does a man enjoy actionlessness, nor by mere renunciation of works does he attain to his perfection, to siddhi, the accomplishment of the aims of his self-discipline by yoga. A man may control his organs of action and refuse to give them their natural play, but he has gained nothing if his mind continues to remember and dwell upon the objects of sense. Such a man has bewildered himself with false notions of self-discipline. He has not understood its object or its truth, nor the first principles of his subjective existence. Therefore, all his methods of self-discipline are false and null.